What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor, man. Yeah.
Good old humor, man. Good old humor.
Welcome to Friday.
Friday, man. It's fucking Friday. It's Friday.
Yeah.
And I mean, we might as well let our listeners know what's going to be happening over the next few weeks, lah.
Yes. But maybe I can just give a quick plug first because it's something I'm super excited about, which is actually our just newly launched accompaniment newsletter to Yalabat called.
What was I supposed to say? Walao, I didn't even know I was... Okay.
Spontaneous a bit lah. Stop looking at your phone and concentrate lah.
Okay, try one more time. Just try only.
Yeah, sorry, one more time. And the newsletter is called
Just Try Only.
Yes, that's right. You want to talk a little bit? You want to just tell people what this newsletter is about?
Yeah, I mean, we have mentioned on this podcast before that we have been planning a newsletter to start to engage more with our listeners and also to kind of let people engage with the stuff we talk about, the stuff we share in a format that's not a podcast, that is more shareable. Essentially, the format we have come up with is something where first there'll be one section where it's the hottest topic from that past week of podcasts. And the next section will be articles that link to two different sides of it, in keeping with the name Yalabat, where we want to entertain dangerous ideas, dangerous perspectives, and also the reasons why Terence and I wanted to speak about the topic, as well as some context for whatever links we share.
Yeah.
And then
that's such a lengthy introduction. Okay. Can I just summarize it?
Yeah. Okay.
It's one topic, two perspectives, and all the Shiok things. That's what a newsletter is.
True. I give the open-ended answer lah. The open-ended answer.
You give the parliamentary answer. The parliamentary answer to the question.
The one with the speech. Yeah. So So essentially one hot topic, one topic, two hot takes, and all the Shiok things.
Yes,
from the past week. Yeah.
Yeah. And all unintrusively in your inbox. Only when you want to open and read it, take your time, just subscribe. It goes straight to your inbox every week. We won't bug you about it. And, you read it when you want to read it, right?
Yeah. And if you've always been listening and when we hear the one Shiok thing, you're like, okay, I got to remember that. And then go to the episode description and click. Don't worry. You subscribe. You'll get it all in your inbox that you can easily share with other people as well.
That's right.
Yeah, so
cool.
So the link. Wait, so maybe also why the name Just Try Only, Terence?
I think because our, like we mentioned, like Harish mentioned, our podcast is about entertaining dangerous ideas in your head, entertaining different perspectives in your head, which we've realized is not an easy thing. But as in the same spirit of our podcast, we always encourage people to just try only, right?
Yeah.
You want to build anything on that?
And we were also thinking of names. At first, there was stuff like Unthinkable or Different Brain or Alternate Brain. And then we realized, those names of newsletters just sound like it could come out from NPR or come out from the UK or the US or somewhere outside of Singapore. But, I mean, we've really grown to love the Yalabat brand. And we have heard a lot of good things about it as well. So and we're also super proud of being Singaporean lah. So that's why it's a hint of Singlish, but also grammatically correct. So anyone outside, not grammatically correct, using non-Singlish words, like actual English words. Like Yalabat is still a la. But hopefully this newsletter grows beyond just our listener base, which would be fucking awesome. So we are super excited.
Yeah.
And we are super open to feedback.
It should be because I think the idea is that, regardless of whether you listen to our podcast or not, these are the news topics that people are talking about, and these are the different perspectives you can take, you can understand about it. So, in this world where news media is so polarized and you don't know who to believe anymore, why not just listen to both sides and then come to your own opinion, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the link is in the description to sign up. We're excited, and we're super open to feedback as well, because we launched the first version. We do expect it to evolve and grow based on whatever ideas that we hear from you guys or that we think of. So just let us know, man. Let us know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now we can start going to your. I know you can't wait to talk about your wedding schedule the upcoming week. That's what. That's why I had to cut you off and okay, let's get that out of the way first.
No, it's not going to be about my wedding lah. It's going to be the consequences of me getting married, in the sense that I won't be. We will take. We're not going to go on a cold break with no episodes as well. We're going to have 2 episodes next week, 2 episodes the following week, and then after that, when Terrence and I are away, another 2 episodes. So we're going to try a few different formats. We're not going to say what yet, but you will still have your weekly dose of Yalabat lah.
Yes. Okay, we'll keep the formats a bit of a secret as to what they are lah. Then it'll be like the advent calendar for Christmas lah. You never know what you're gonna get when you open up what your podcast is that day lah, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's 3 weeks of the Yalabat Christmas.
That's right. And that's cool, because you're getting married, and then you'll be traveling, and I'll also be traveling for a bit. But yeah, we don't want to leave people in the lurch with nothing to listen to, because I think everyone's posting about their Spotify Wrapped right now, and the numbers are quite staggering in terms of the amount of time that people have spent listening to our podcast, and we don't want to stop that momentum.
Yeah. In the thousands, which is so heartening to see, lah.
Correct. So there was someone who even was listening to all our past episodes, and if you average it out, they listen to more than 1 episode a day this year. And we're not even in December yet, so they've already completed like 300. If I calculate it correctly, it's 366 hours of content this year alone. Yeah.
Wow, nice. Okay, cool.
So more than one hour a day. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But yes, we can jump right into our first topic.
We can
really
finally jump into. This is where, before we jump into the pool, we were just disrobing slowly and sensually. So now we're ready to jump into the pool.
The long hot shower, before you jump in the pool. So yeah. Okay,
exactly.
Anyway, yes.
So the first topic is it's something that we have spoken about before, but with a little slightly different context. It is the context of FTX and the whole meltdown. Yes. But more specifically, what DPM Lawrence Wong said about FTX and about Temasek's faux pas in investing in FTX.
That's right.
And I mean, exactly, some of the things he said we'll unpack a lot, but it was generally that Temasek suffered reputational damage, which he admits. They're conducting an internal review. But in a rare, almost criticism, he did say that the fact that there are other notable VCs like Sequoia Capital having invested in FTX does not mitigate Temasek.
Does not mitigate the issue.
Yeah, I think there's been some narrative previously where, this is part of the investment game. It wasn't just Temasek, it was these globally world famous investment funds that made the same mistake. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but what made you want to talk about this?
I think we had this coming. FTX collapse, and you're feeling you're really seeing that the crypto winter has really settled, right? We're in the crypto winter and everything. I think we've been talking about, has your confidence in this whole space, whether it's blockchain or crypto, what has it been shattered a little bit, right? I mean, and I think for most people, a lot of people that we talk to, it definitely has. But I think one thing is that Temasek has been basically holding the fort with the same poker face, right? Saying that this is part of the nature of investment, and it's such a small part of our portfolio, blah blah blah. So now you can put a face to it. Lawrence Wong himself coming forward to talk about this issue in Parliament, right, and making a statement about it. So I think that's where it's worth dissecting how the messaging is coming across and how convinced people are by the arguments. But for you, what do you find interesting about this topic?
Because a few days ago I did read news that there was going to be an internal committee commission to
Mm,
investigate the supposed due diligence that Temasek did lah. And
mm,
honestly, when I saw that thing, I was like, I mean, this is just okay. Like you set up committee and all. It just feels like okay, it's going through the motion lah. And
mm, mm,
my context is already like the whole investment VC game. It does come with risk lah. It
mm,
just doesn't help that Temasek being the entity that it is and the amount of 200 plus million is fucking huge. But it is true that if you look at VCs in general, the more
mm,
important thing is the rate of return over a bunch of investments like every year lah. And I
mm,
think Temasek has been pretty decent lah. But hearing the DPM say that in Parliament, I
mm.
thought, hey, okay, that's fresh lah. That is fresh.
Fresh in a positive way or what?
Oh yeah, fresh in a positive way. Fresh in a positive way. In the sense that
Okay.
it made me feel a bit more okay lah. Like they are not shying away from it being like it's not just oh yeah investment you lose money you win some you lose some lah. You know it's more important you win more than
Mm.
you lose. Then you're like no for a sovereign fund you can't just say it like that lah. You know. So that was what I
So
found
you're
fresh.
saying that you're saying that it's good that they are actually talking more about it than just letting Temasek just wave it off lah. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what about for you?
I see. Yeah. No, yeah. I was gonna say that actually. I do. Maybe my take on it isn't that positive, in the sense that I've felt that Lawrence Wong has exacerbated the problem of making it sound like everything's just they're trying to sweep everything under the rug lah. You know. So my take on it is actually, I think he didn't. I think he and whoever's in charge of all the comms of this, they're not doing a very good job lah in terms of
Oh, is it?
the messaging and communication of everything that's going on here lah.
Why? Why?
I mean, if you ask me about it, and I come from a background where I've worked early in my career. I worked in finance. I worked in investment banks. I worked as an analyst at the lowest level of it, which means that I was the one doing a lot of the groundwork when it comes to stuff like due diligence. So to be specific, the realm of investment banking I was in, I wasn't working in like the trading or anything like that, like trading floors like you see in movies, I was really working on the corporate finance or corporate mergers and acquisition side of things, where, whenever a company wanted to buy another company or invest money in another company, they would have to do a lot of research and due diligence and all these things. And that's when they would hire an investment bank to come in and do a lot of that, looking through the financials, looking at the all the paper trail, the documents that a company has, and trying to ascertain that whatever value you're paying for the company is worth that money. With that context of what due diligence is, and everything that Temasek has said so far, we conducted 8 months of due diligence before investing in this. Almost like they were holding it like a badge of honor, like they did their hard work, and you can't blame them that they cannot corner. That's where I feel very unconvinced by just people just trying to say, it was just a bad investment, because 8 months is a lot of time for finance professionals to do due diligence. A lot of smaller deals for smaller amounts of money have done they've done with even longer periods of due diligence, and so all that aside of I'm not super convinced that this is something that even within the Temasek itself, that they'll just say, oh yeah, this is part of investment. You lose money and you move on. I think they themselves are probably trying to uncover how the due diligence process failed so badly, because it's not a matter of a bad investment. This is literally it feels almost like there's corporate governance issues within FTX. There were very severe corporate governance issues. So it's not just about it's a risky investment, but it's literally about how come the paperwork wasn't set properly, and that these people were doing all these strange things with their different entities, and there had to be a paper trail, and somehow someone didn't dig up that paper trail, So within Temasek, I think there's an inquisition going on. Fine, do it there. But then I think the other aspect of this, which I think was a bit lacking in Lawrence Wong's speech, is that you think about the economic situation that 90%, 95% of the Singapore population is facing now. We are on the cusp of raising GST, super inflationary environment, economic recession about to hit, war in Ukraine doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, tensions in China, tensions in the Middle East and everything. So it's not a time to be hearing that, it's just $275 million is nothing for compared to what everything else Temasek is earning, on one hand, in Parliament, you're trying to convince people that we as a government, we always do our due diligence. We know, remember literally quoting Alvin Tan on our podcast, we don't just anyhow hantam, right? We don't just hantam the numbers. We really sit there and think through the numbers and all that. On one hand, you're hearing that. On the other hand, you're hearing, we did 8 months due diligence, but we cannot con. And that's just the nature of investment. So it's just, I feel that messaging doesn't jive with everything else that they're trying to tell people about the economy and all that lah.
So that means what you're saying is that but okay, so how would it be different if he didn't say what he said and everything else is happening as is? Because like what you said, given that Temasek's they're one of their main core things they do is to invest and make money lah, and like you can assume that given they manage I think 400 plus billion, this 200 million, it's not small, it's still significant, and they also would want to do a better job going forward. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going like really hardcore review, right? So by Lawrence Wong not saying what he said, how would that be different? Or do you think he should have been like the discipline master, like what the fuck went down with this shit, man?
Yeah. So I think let's avoid giving very binary options for what Lawrence Wong can do. Like he can say something or he can don't say anything, right? There's somewhere in between where he can still say something, but it doesn't need to sound so dismissive of the 275 million investment. I think my issue with it right now is that it sounds he's almost just parroting what Temasek has been trying to say, is that it's just a small blip of our money, of our total investment returns and everything, And I think that's where it's rubbing people the wrong way in the larger context of what messaging the government and is trying to give the Singaporeans about the raising GST and inflationary pressures and everything, So if you ask me, if I was put in not Lawrence Wong, but let's say I was put in the Temasek's PR shoes, right? Firstly, like holding up the 8 months of due diligence like a badge of honor makes you it has become a punchline. I think people are laughing. A lot of people are making jokes about it. Like 8 months of paying people high salaries to do this kind of due diligence, and it's not just people within Temasek. They probably have engaged experts elsewhere. They've engaged lawyers, everything. I think the truth is every one of those people involved in that due diligence team need to look at what happened, and there probably is an inquisition happening. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is even words like, I think they said that the trust or their faith in the FTX management appears to be misplaced, So just the choice of wording that they used to use is almost like trying to make it sound like they were just bamboozled and they were doing everything right and they were following, all the professionals doing what they're doing, and it just happened that this was a bad investment to them, as opposed to just having a much more like, we take this whole thing very seriously. It's a very bad stain on our thing, and we're going to do everything to investigate more. And not saying that it needs to be a committee of inquiry, but it just not sounding like you're trying so hard to just say, look, it's 0.01 or 0.09% of our portfolio and nothing more, and the more they try to bring up these numbers, the more I think that they are digging this hole of like sounding really complacent and really like, you plebeians, you minions, you all don't know anything about finance. Please don't think about it so much. It's a nothing to us. That's what it sounds like to people.
Yeah, so I mean, like listening to Lawrence Wong, overall, I think right from the start of FTX, it has been a bit soft-handed lah. I won't deny that lah. From
Mm,
the media in Singapore, from even people like Ho Ching,
mm,
and for Lawrence Wong, it was a bit soft, but I think it's less soft than I would have expected.
We can define soft
And
when you say it's soft.
in the sense, like the fact, like the fact that everything that I've been reading and all has been that rhetoric lah, which is, oh, is an investment thing, in the broader scheme of things, Temasek is still doing better, and it always felt
Mm,
like they were kind of absolving themselves of responsibility lah. And even though I said just now, like
mm, mm,
the whole investment thing, that's the way of the game, I don't necessarily agree with that. There is some truth to that, but I don't agree with it, and I'll explain why in a bit. But it's
mm,
been soft so far. So even by Lawrence Wong saying that one statement that it does not mitigate Temasek, to me was something that
mm,
I had not heard up till this point. Not
mm,
saying that
mm, mm.
it is
It does not
how you say
mitigate Temasek's. It does not mitigate Temasek's loss, lah.
um
You're saying,
loss, yeah.
okay.
And why I still think it is fresh and surprising, because I wasn't expecting that based on everything else leading up to that. Could it have
Okay.
been more stern? Could it have been more how you say more acknowledgement that, okay, there is a huge impact. There
Mm, mm,
is a
mm,
huge impact, and just some how you say some almost some dignity for the people who got screwed over lah. And I say
mm,
that with context, because just
mm,
now as you were talking about what it must feel like for a week or two after this whole shit hit the fan,
mm,
to
mm,
hear the leaders of your country speak that way lah. And I
mm,
mean, we have mentioned in the past that we were impacted significantly by
mm,
the liquidation of a company, which at
mm,
some point we will talk about. But the one
mm,
thing we heard quite a few times from the higher ups that were involved was like, that is the nature of business. And
mm,
even hearing and saying that is making my blood boil lah.
mm, mm,
You and I were on multiple calls where they said that, and we are like,
mm,
what do you mean is the nature of business? How can
mm,
you operate a company with like $100 million like of liability, and just carry on with like no restructuring or anything lah?
mm, mm.
So I
And
think
so
what
and
you
so
said
and
is
so
is true
and so
lah.
carelessly just pull the plug on it, and then subsequently say that that's just the nature of business, like not honoring contracts and everything, like, right?
Yeah, exactly. So as you
Mm,
were talking about it, I was like, yeah, it was bringing up memories of that, and wow, it's not it's a horrible feeling lah. So in this case, I mean, I'm hoping that whatever committee they review, whatever that is going to be presented, is
mm,
not going to just be swept under the carpet. Um, so yeah, like as you were talking, I was like, yeah, like it's true lah. Even now rethinking what Lawrence Wong was saying, it does sound a bit like, the kind of like where someone feels bad, yes, but do they
mm.
really make you
Yeah,
feel like, okay lah, like someone has hurt me lah?
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Mm,
to me, it's he's not saying anything wrong. It's just maybe the timing and the way it's being delivered that is wrong. You know, where
mm,
it feels like where's even his mind being open to, hey, was there any fuck up in the diligence process that I mean, even the hint of maybe someone overlooking a very important process in due diligence, right? Was
mm.
there something he could have they could have possibly completed investigations in just these short 2 weeks already, but within these 2 weeks
Yeah,
already they've all coming out guns a blazing trying to say that, oh, it's not a big deal to Temasek, let's just move on, everyone, let's stop talking about it, which I think is the part that's rubbing everyone the wrong way. Again, like I said, in this larger context of them claiming that, oh, we've looked at all the numbers, we don't just anyhow hantam numbers for GST, we think about the economy long term and all these things. But then when it comes to multi hundreds of millions of dollars invested in this company that seems to be run by people under 30 who are staying in the penthouse in the Bahamas and having relationships with each other and transferring customer money around and using it to do various things. When the due diligence for that came around, like, it's like, oh, it's they, you can. It sounds like it's like almost anyhow hantam like that, So that's why
actually,
it's like strange, yeah.
actually, the one good point you brought up in your earlier spiel was also that this is not just a case of a business that was run well that for whatever reason failed.
Yeah.
I think, there's been no mention, no hint of what the truth was behind FTX. And it's almost relevant because there's an issue in the West now, which is also coming to light, where a lot of the mainstream media, so New York Times, Washington Post, Vox, are being called out for being too soft on SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of, the prodigal founder of FTX. And what they're being called out for is that the way they are phrasing or portraying him is that he was, effective, altruist, philanthropist, entrepreneur, and he had the right ambition, but it went down in flames. And that is being called out because there is more and more evidence that the way the company was run was fucked up. And
right.
just on a very high level, right? What it seems to be the case is FTX was taking all the money invested by the retail investors and using it to buy companies, using it to trade and like cover the losses of their sister company Alameda Research, and it's all things that you cannot do in financial firms. And the new CEO who just came in to kind of like turn things
Steady
around.
the
His name
ship.
is John. His name is John Ray the Third.
Yeah.
I mean, on a side note, right? Fucking hell, I think I'm gonna name my kid or something Harish the Second. It just feels so cool.
Please don't. Yeah, because it's like this just to feed your own ego, and as your friend, I have to tell you, please don't. Please don't.
Of course.
Yeah. To you, it sounds cool. I tell you, your son will suffer for it. Yeah. Or your kid will suffer
You'll
for it.
probably
Please
be like, shit, I have to be second. I start off already, I'm second. Okay. But on a separate note, so he said, and I quote, "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as I have here." And they have more than 1 million creditors now. That just means that the company owes more than 1 million individuals or organizations. I mean, most of them are like users, like the retail users. So it's true what you say. There's no acknowledgement of that, because if you say that it's just an investment that went liquid, there are a lot of wonderful companies that unfortunately went liquid for a whole bunch of different reasons
Yeah. So,
but this one, it was badly run.
Yeah. So when I hear Lawrence Wong sort of parroting what Temasek is saying, it just has this feeling of it's like almost like he's trying to cover up for the elite high finance buddies working in Temasek like get some heat off them and things like that
Ooh, that's a he seems like, you must say, he seems
like it sounds like it. It sounds like it because if anyone is going to stand for the people and ask questions on it, it really needs to be someone higher up in the government and all that as well, right? So when it's so quickly, again, like I mentioned again, like the investigations into the processes for this whole thing need to take more than 2 weeks, and for Lawrence Wong to so quickly almost like say like it's just part and parcel of the whole thing. Of course, he has said there's an internal review, but like I said, like, it just doesn't sound like they themselves want to believe that there was any fuck up in the diligence process, right? It's like they just want to try and sweep it under the carpet like that, So that's where I'm like, I think it's very clear to me, like, even if there's, it's an investment. There was some oversight. There was something that was missed out on the due diligence process, but it was not, not criminal, nothing, completely just the nature of business and all that. But there needs to be just some contrition in terms of like, okay, let's really dig into it and find out what happened before we come out and say that, that's just how it was. Whereas I feel like they're just jumping to their angle of that's just how it was, and let's move on, Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like just to add on to what I was saying earlier, which I mean also hints at the poor corporate governance that you just mentioned, right? Is the reason why the mainstream media in the West are being called out is because SBF has donated a shit ton of money to entities like not the New York Times, but some others like.
I mean, he's funded the Democratic campaigns, right?
Exactly. He was one
Yeah,
of the biggest donors of the Democrats, and all the
yeah.
publications that are publishing very, or like pieces that are soft, are all left leaning.
Mm-mm.
So it just feels like there's a lot more to it, and it's not just that the company went down. It was what the hell was happening before then. Lah.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
guessing I'm
let's
guessing
be
online.
very clear. I think no, we need to be
Yeah.
very clear. We're not espousing that there's any conspiracy theory behind why people are trying to protect FTX and all that, right?
Yeah.
And we're just saying that it was a very bad investment and everything. But I think what we're saying is like the messaging, the just really trying to better understand what really went on behind the scenes. That whole process hasn't happened yet, and you haven't given people a chance to even like come to their own opinion about it. But it feels like the opinion of like, oh yeah, it's just a small investment, it's a small blip in the whole thing. It feels like that opinion is being shoved down people's throats.
And I'm guessing
Yeah.
online also the chatter is probably like a lot more like they don't buy it, like, is it? From what you've seen?
I mean, but online is it's a very skewed representation
Polarized.
of
Yeah.
and so I also take it with a pinch of salt. But I think that what I find interesting about online discussions is philosophically, like trying to understand. I think everyone gets the point about it's just a small amount compared to what the amount of the in Temasek's portfolio and everything. But people are trying to explain why there is justified outrage or justified not justified anger about it, lah, right? You know, and it's not just as simple as just, oh yeah, this is part of the nature of investment, and you win some, you lose some, lah. Yeah,
So
that's right.
so I
Yeah.
mean, was there anything I couldn't find anything that talked about whether or not the results of the internal review will be shared publicly. No, right? There's nothing, right?
Yeah. If it's an internal review, I don't think it will necessarily be shared publicly, lah. Yeah.
So that's
I
where
mean, we
I
we
hope.
might never know, lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there were a few questions fielded by Pritam in Parliament about this specifically. So that's where we need the opposition to keep poking, man. To keep poking.
Okay.
To keep
Yeah.
poking. To keep poking.
Yeah. And
Man,
I
Leong Man
think
Wai, do your thing, man. Leong Man Wai.
yeah, and I think it wouldn't help also for individual members of the public also to be asking questions lah about these things.
Yeah.
Especially if you're affected also lah, right?
I mean,
I think
literally,
in Singapore's stance on crypto is quite clear, right? They don't encourage retail investors to put money in crypto and all.
Yeah.
But it's just strange when you see like the Temasek itself then goes ahead and invest in like a crypto exchange and everything like, right? And people see that as almost like there is a segment of the population who sees that as an endorsement of crypto lah, right? If anything, you can't deny that, and then it's that kind of thing where like you encourage people not to gamble, but you also build casino in Singapore. That's not the same analogy, but that's why there are a lot of safeguards in place to prevent people from just willy-nilly entering casinos and dumping their life savings in a jackpot table and jackpot and all that lah, right?
So I guess now, like, we just have to wait and see lah, right? But the one thing I would encourage people is that we'll put a few links in the show notes, is just look at what's unfolding in the West about SBF and FTX lah, because it was a friend of ours that told us that there's stuff blowing up on Twitter like maybe a week and a half ago where the whole conversation there was very different from what you would see amidst like the New York Post and Voxers and all. Then when I was researching today, I was like, oh shit, yeah, there's almost like two divergent paths. And you can check out some of the links below about the context of FTX in terms of media.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
But speaking from I mean, since we're talking on the message of messaging and whether it could be done better or what, the next one is a banger also. It's a very interesting one as well. But this one we have to go all the way to Hollywood lah. What is this topic?
Yeah. It is Will Smith's recent appearance on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, where he talked about his latest movie, Emancipation, which came out, I think, a few days ago. But in the middle of the interview, for like 5 minutes, he and Trevor Noah also discussed that eventful night at the Oscars where he went on stage to slap Chris Rock.
That's right.
And I think the opinion is divided about the stuff that Will Smith said and the stuff that Trevor Noah asked him about, and just basically the stuff they talked about lah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe if you haven't seen the interview or whatnot, I'll just give a lowdown of what he said lah. So essentially, like Trevor Noah just smoothly went into the topic, saying, okay, it's great to see a movie coming out. You've been away, but like I can't imagine what it's been for you for the past few years lah. And then it went basically. Will Smith, the general stance was that he started off by saying, like the one thing he learned is that you never know what someone's going through. He looked at the audience and he said, like someone in the audience, maybe your loved one just died, you're having issues with your spouse, you never know. And that night, there was a lot going through him, through in his mind, and he just lost it. I think he was quoted as saying he lost it. And after that, he talked about, compassion, the how it impacted his life, how he had his nephew just asked him, like who stayed up to watch his 9-year-old nephew, said, "Oh, Dad, Uncle, why do you hit that man?" or something. And then he just talks about what happened, and then Trevor Noah was saying, basically, that was not the person I know. What you did was fucked up. I love Chris Rock, I love you, but I know that's not you. And then generally they went about that for like 5 to 6 minutes, and the audience was very warm. The audience was very warm to Will Smith.
Yeah.
Did I miss out anything that caught your eye or your ears?
I think Will Smith said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said the hardest thing so far has been learning to forgive himself as well, right? In this whole process, like realizing that he's not perfect and he makes mistakes as well. Yeah. So it was and this coming off the back of the fact that Trevor Noah also is ending his run on the Daily Show, right? It felt like a very bittersweet moment for both of them, very big stars in their own right, right?
I mean, Will Smith did also say that just knowing that for that night he potentially took away the attention from other actors and other actresses and other directors and writers. Guts him, especially the Emancipation team right now that he's working with. But if I would ask you, how do you feel about his response?
Don't know, man. Just no justice for Chris Rock, man. No justice for Chris Rock. That's how I feel about it, Like no, at no point in the interview was it asked about was there any like apology redirected to Chris Rock again, or was there any mention of how Chris Rock might be feeling about it at this point and things like that? And just almost like it felt very much like Will Smith was being painted as the victim of that circumstance, which is damn strange because he was the aggressor, he's the bully, he was the violent one there, So I don't know in what instance where you do something violent to someone else and then you go on a tour where we talk about how bad you feel about it, right? So it just still felt very strange for me, and I just want to be able to love Will Smith again and all that, because I'm since Fresh Prince days I'm such a huge fan and all, but it's so difficult, It's so difficult to feel like this guy really feels really bad for what he did, Yeah.
So basically, what's the TLDR of your spiel? Now I feel like how you felt at the start of this when can you sum up what you felt, or should I just sum up what I felt?
Sum up what you feel first, because I feel very it's very conflicted about it, Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel even more annoyed now.
Why?
Because I mean, yeah, okay, Will Smith, it's probably been a traumatic 2 years, but the fact that he said, you never know what
2 years.
someone is
It's
going
not
through.
2 years, alright. It's just
When did it
only
happen?
earlier this year.
This year.
Earlier this year only.
Correct,
Yeah.
earlier this year. Oh, yeah, earlier this year. So,
Mm.
even that one statement he said, you never know what someone is going through, it's in direct reference to himself, lah, right? And maybe people in the audience. But what about Chris? What if
Yeah.
something, so along the lines of what you said, there was no mention of Chris Rock apart from Trevor Noah said, I love you, I love Chris, he's my friend, you're my friend. Apart
Yeah.
from that, Will Smith never said anything. And the same statement he said about you never know what someone is going through. What about Chris? What about he has what about what he has had to go through? Lah? So that was one thing, and I don't know, like it just felt like it was still a performance. Because when he's telling the story, he's really very charismatic, right? So he comes in already, there's a round of applause talking about his movie, and it feels like, wait. Are we not gonna you're just gonna go back to normal? Lah? And like when he was telling Trevor Noah the story, he would look at the audience and then look at Trevor Noah, and just very performative, lah. And it's just
So
fucking annoying.
so it's $1 million
so
question. Before you come to your conclusion on that, was it Trevor Noah's fault of his poor performance as an interviewer? That's why we are here today, where we are like, we're still not over what Will Smith did.
I wanted to talk about that also because I mean, because like even the interviews we've done in the past, we have taken different approaches, right? Even when we got Xia Shui on, or more recently, the two politicians from the PAP, there were comments that, why are we not pushing them in a corner, and why are we not doing this? And I have been thinking about it a lot. Okay, what is our role as an interviewer? Is it about finding out who the person is, and not judging them, lah? So when I watch this, I do feel Trevor Noah, the questions he asked was a bit too forgiving, lah.
But what if what if his intention was to, I'm going to focus on Will Smith as a person. I'm not here to extract an apology out of him for Chris Rock, because I think he can do that in his own time. But it's my show, and I decided I want to focus on Will Smith, because the truth is, Will Smith has had many fans like myself who are confused about who this person really is, right? And that's what he wants to focus on. Maybe there was even a mention of, let's not directly reference Chris Rock, because there's there's so much raw emotion there in his private relationship with Chris, that let's try not to talk about it. Maybe there was that discussion we had beforehand. In that case, would that absolve, in your mind, would it absolve Trevor Noah of the responsibility of like pushing further?
Actually, I mean, I honestly don't know, because even now, right, you ask me, I'm like, was Trevor Noah too forgiving? But then I've also been in the situation where people have said that, we are not pushing people in the corner. Then I'm like, oh shit. It's tricky, it's tricky. But the one thing is that Will Smith literally assaulted someone else. Sure, if we bring a politician who is championing for a cause that maybe a lot of people don't disagree with, is that like as clear cut as assaulting someone else, lah?
I think one, you're saying it's almost a criminal action, right? Versus like someone's a matter of their opinion or the work they do, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like if I were to ask you the same question, like what do you think Trevor Noah was responsible for this? Or because you said right now you are kind of still conflicted, which in some way means you're thinking about it, which in some way means that the interviewer was thought-provoking, like it wasn't binary, right?
Yeah. So in the sense that, I think I do want, I do want to see that there's real growth in Will Smith, and that there is real, like he really feels bad about what happened and all that. But but like what you said, maybe because what he did is so clearly wrong, and he's so clearly in the wrong, and he so clearly is the one that needs to apologize and all that, right? The fact that the apology hasn't been that clear cut, and that the interviewer didn't talk about it like in such a clear-cut way, right? That you know, it felt like they were just skirting around the issue that what he did was really fucking bad, lah, right?
Yeah.
That's where there's something lacking, lah. And I'm not trying to defend ourselves against what people are criticized about us, because yes, I mean I definitely do feel sometimes, you know, even the way we do interviews, after every interview we think about, okay, well, how could we have done it better and all that, right? But it's not as clear cut when you're talking to someone and trying to understand better, trying to understand how they think, and then also at the same time you also want to try and question a little bit about their thought process behind things, right? So that one is, there's a little bit of understanding what the feel is in the room, and you know, the where things are at, what certain things you can or can't talk about and all that kind of thing, right? So that one I'm still thinking about it. But in this case, yeah, to me it just seems like Will Smith was given a chance again to show that he's grown, that he's learned as a human being, but I felt like he almost doesn't want to have to talk about it, lah. Like he's pushing it aside, in some way. And Trevor Noah just sort of it's not good for Will Smith, lah, when Trevor Noah doesn't probe further about it, lah, right?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, like let's say next week I getting married, right? If I just halfway I walk up to you and I slap you in the face, right? Then 2 weeks later I meet your family, I meet my family, I'm like, you never know what someone's going through. Everyone asks me, shut the hell up, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell are you talking about? You hit this guy at an event, because another thing Trevor Noah said is that I think people don't realize that when someone like Will Smith goes to the Oscars, it's almost like just meeting up with friends, because you know everyone already. You see them at multiple events. To the outside world, it's a huge gala thing. But to Will Smith, it's like a house party. And you know, you see people get drunk and act up at house parties. So then I'm like, no. I don't think you can use that excuse, right? Because next week,
have you ever slapped anyone at a house party?
That's why. Exactly. And even like next week, right? I'm going to see my friends, my family. You could hypothesize that there might be other instances where, okay, I meet pockets of them together. Like. But if I were to slap someone next week, or if anyone were to slap someone else next week, we'll be like, whoa. What the hell just happened?
Yeah, so Harish is here giving a preview of what his wedding will be like. There'll be a lot of like randomly slapping people, and then after that, just like moving on like nothing happened like that.
If 2 weeks after that, during a Yalabat podcast, like you hear Terrence say, so how have you been? I'm like, you know what, that night I just lost it. But you never know what someone's going through. Walao,
yeah.
I can't even imagine that. So just watching this fella, and I don't know, the crowd, it just feels like nothing happened, and it's almost like he went through a challenging time.
Yeah, like he was the victim.
What about Chris Rock? Yeah, what about Chris Rock?
Yeah. So I mean,
I cannot imagine if Chris Rock watching this. Yeah.
Yeah, if you were Trevor Noah, like how would you have made things better or different, you know?
That's like the question like what you said, like we ask ourselves after our own interviews.
Correct.
I think maybe just asking, have you spoken to Chris? You know, like have you heard from him? Like how do you feel about what you acted? Like what do you think he went through? And like is there something like do you plan to reach out? Do you plan to reconcile? Or how are you addressing that huge component of this whole fucking shit show?
Yeah.
And
correct. No, yeah, same. I think the lack of empathy right now is very glaring to me. There's this very let's keep talking about how Will Smith felt about it, about the situation, and how he feels about it. It's a very self-absorbed kind of thing going on right now with Will Smith. And even the previous, I think he did his previous apology video. All of it just felt very self-absorbed, even down to like the fact that he was drinking water from I think his own son's like water bottle company and all that, right? So the whole thing just felt very rehearsed and very self-absorbed. Same for this interview. It just felt very self-absorbed. Okay, fine, you're promoting a movie, talking about it, but when it came to that elephant in the room, again, it was just about your perspective on things, as opposed to opposed to Chris Rock's. So yeah, I think that's the thing, like asking, like what you said exactly, like trying to get Will Smith to think about being in Chris Rock's shoes and how that must feel. Because at the end of the day, it's more than just being about the physical pain that Chris Rock feels. Like, forever being known as the guy that got slapped by Will Smith on live TV. That's something that will be in your Wikipedia entry as an individual forever. Not
Yeah, that's why.
might be even more notorious than your stand-up shows and everything like that, or your movies you've done and all. So that is like it has become an indelible part of your existence already. Like for Chris Rock, is written into history as such. And so, is there a lasting image you want your kids, your family, all that to see of you being slapped on stage by another person, right? And so there is more than just about a physical or just a momentary embarrassment for Chris Rock, a physical pain or momentary embarrassment for Chris Rock. So I think the fact that nobody talks about that, about how the lasting damage that would have on Chris Rock's psyche and reputation, all that. So the fact that Will Smith hasn't even touched any of that, it's just like just feels weird, yeah.
I hope Chris Rock is just storing up everything for this mother of all comedy specials that he's going to do, because I think he did mention that he will talk about it at some point, lah. So I mean, in some way that could be his strategy, right? I'm not going to say anything on anyone else's platform, no matter what the hell other people say. I'm gonna say it the way I want to say it, lah. You can imagine any tour he puts out now will fucking sell out. I will try and get a ticket and somehow make it there, lah.
Yeah, big Netflix special and everything.
Yeah.
And
but I mean,
it's tough, man. It's so hard. Because I really wish we could go back to loving Will Smith again and all, but I can't bring myself to. Yeah.
But it's still interesting because you still see people online supporting him, and also that's polarized, man. That is polarized. So in some way, both the first and second topics, got a thread that how you say
lack of empathy.
Lack of empathy. I never say.
Look, I think it's totally
in some
okay.
way, in some way,
because we are talking about the communications issue of. It's a very serious. Like both issues are really about how something bad happened, but how you communicate about it to people, I think is important, right? And whether you are like someone working in the government who's talking about something that happened with the state investor, or you're Will Smith talking about how you lost it at an event. I think there are ways to do it that would show that you have empathy for the people, for the victims and the people involved, right? And I think what we've just been talking about in the last hour or more is there could have been better empathy on both aspects, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's but yeah, so it'd be awesome to hear what you guys think. Because it's both topics quite polarizing, which is great.
Correct. Yeah. That's right.
Cool, man.
But cool.
Cool.
So talking about what you guys think. What is your one Shiok comment?
My one Shiok comment is just, I know you mentioned it at the start of the podcast, but I've been I totally forget every year for the past 2 years that there's this thing called Spotify Wrapped. And every year I'm like, oh shit, this is so awesome. Like just seeing how many people post their Spotify Wrapped for podcasts where we are on the top few positions and tag us, it really makes my day, man. And it just makes me, it's just a reminder. Oh shit, actually, there are people who listen to us, and some people who listen a lot. And especially when they say, they say they feel like they know us, or they spend way too much time listening to these two dudes. I'm like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So in general, that has been very, very awesome to see. Please continue tagging us if we do end up on your list, and thanks for listening.
Yeah. My one Shiok comment is on the Reddit from Cito69. Hi, Terrence and Harish. You know that this is a new listener or Redditor because they start by saying, hi, Terrence and Harish. But yeah, cool. I don't normally post on Reddit, but this episode really struck me. And this is talking about the Pritam Singh lifting the party whip and talking about Balenciaga and all that. And Cito69 goes on to say, I really want to say I've enjoyed all your conversations, and your pod is getting me through a drudge period for me. Yeah. So he or she really enjoyed the breakdown of lifting the whip and our whole discussion about it. And and ultimately Cito69 found it a very nice discussion, and you guys always deliver. And since there was no wedding update this app, I thought I'd just say, have a great wedding, Harish. You're taking a big step into a whole new life journey. May bright suns light your way forward. Wow. So yeah, it's always very nice to hear from someone who, inspired enough by the our discussions of topics to come forward and share their opinion, and also wish you all the best for your wedding, Harish.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
May bright suns light your way forward. Wow, it's a very poetic way to put it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet. Cool. And what about your one Shiok thing?
Yeah, one Shiok thing is actually it was actually recommended on our subreddit also by one of our longtime listeners, Jungle Jimbo. There's this show called Pepsi, Where's My Jet? That is a documentary series on Netflix that was basically details I think a little legal fiasco that Pepsi got itself into in the mid-90s, where they basically ran a campaign that implicitly promised that you, with 7 million Pepsi points, which was a currency that you could get from drinking their drink, with 7 million Pepsi points, you could actually acquire a Harrier jet from them. And so there's this one American teenager who tried to take them up on the offer and went all out to try and get the 7 million points. And when he finally managed to acquire all the points, all that, he actually tried to cash in and wanted a Harrier jet, which would have cost in the realm of like $30 to $40 million. And then it began a legal battle between Pepsi and this teenager about whether they really needed to honor that what they put in that TV advertisement about 7 million points for a Harrier jet. Yep. So it's actually So it's a 4-part documentary series that it's pretty interesting. I mean, I never knew of this whole story. So it was quite interesting for me, just because having grown up in the 90s and all that, I do remember there were all these things about back then when I think there were certain campaigns where you drink the soda and then there's a certain number of points or whatever under the soda can, right? That you could use to trade in for various souvenirs from the soda companies and all. So that was a big thing back in the 90s, and to see to the extent to which people in the US were going to try and get some of these things is pretty crazy. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Oh shit, that sounds interesting, man. Like I thought Where's My Jet was something a more reality based kind of thing, but
no. It's about legal battle, and then it kind of in the realm of like what we are discussing. So it's a lot about it's the David versus Goliath kind of story. Small person. I mean, what a normal person going up against a giant corporation, and then what happens? Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
How about you? What is your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is related to the World Cup. Today we are recording Friday, 2nd December, and the latest news is that last night Japan beat Spain 2-1.
Yeah.
And it's so unbelievably amazing because, if you are listening and haven't been keeping track of the World Cup, Japan, which is, an Asian powerhouse for soccer, for football, but globally, you will never hear them being talked about amongst the likes of Germany, Spain, England and all. But they were put in a group together with Spain and Germany. The first game, they came from behind against Germany to win 2-1. And then they lost to Costa Rica. No, they lost to...
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, correct. And then I think you could already see in the media saying, Japan beat Germany by a fluke. Costa Rica, they lost. Okay, it's more like the usual formalities. But then they beat Spain 2-1, and Spain is one of the favorites now. So they came from behind also. And it's that is almost like one of the examples of why this World Cup has been quite interesting, because another team that qualified was Morocco. Morocco won 2-0 last night, and
Yeah.
they qualified ahead of Belgium in the same group. And
Yeah.
Belgium, the golden generation, who globally was the world's number one team for like 8 years. They have underperformed so badly. There was infighting in the camp. And then, yeah, it's just nice to see teams like Morocco, Australia, Japan qualify for round of 16, and teams I mean, for Germany and the traditional powerhouses to not even make it to the round of 16,
Yeah.
uh, it just feels like, wow, that's cool, man. That's cool. I know
Yeah.
way back 2002, so South Korea went to the semis, I think. But apart from that, it's
Quarters, right?
always like an quarters. But it's
Yeah.
almost like an anomaly when one of the underdogs go far. Lah. So this one, wow, it's cool to watch, lah. Cool to watch.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was a big day for the World Cup, lah, right? In the sense that the two very big giants in the footballing world, Belgium and Germany, crashed out, lah, right? So
Yeah,
it
Belgium and
is
Germany.
very, yeah, it's very. I think these two teams, it was very unexpected for them to not make it to the second round. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I think these are the real first big upsets, lah, of the World Cup, right? Upsets
I mean,
meaning
even
like
the
not qualifying, like yeah.
yeah, I mean, Italy didn't even qualify for the World Cup. So
Yeah,
then
that
Germany
one is
and
a
Belgium are out. The
yeah.
US went through to the next round, which is also not the most
Mm.
common. Senegal, Poland, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if you watch the highlights, and this one I have to give credit to MediaCorp Entertainment, the way they've been
Yeah.
putting out the highlights, that's my go-to for highlights, man.
Yeah,
Shout out to them.
Someone's been working hard in MediaCorp, right?
Yeah, exactly. Someone's been working
Yeah.
super hard.
That's
But
right.
yeah, cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Enjoy
All
your
right.
weekend.
Thanks everyone for listening. I think yes. And talk to you all soon.